I'd like to understand from our panelists how they define millennials. So starting with you, Chef Gill.
No, what I feel that the trend is, or the people like to have more food they can, take in a casual environment. But the quality of food and the consistency of food and is very, very important. What they expect. They don't like to have many variations and all that time to time. Whatever is committed on the menu, with the, very truthfully, they'd like to have that thing on the plate also. It is not that you mention something else and you produce something else. That's very, very important. And people like to have value for money. They have enough money to pay, but you must get the value for money in the total experience. If you don't get, then everything is very expensive and they don't like to pay. Today's customer is going to be very, very price conscious, but for value. They can pay a lot of money, but if it is a value for experience is there, otherwise it's too expensive for them. And food also, they are adventurous. They like to try, all kind of food time to time. They're adventurous because of the adventure, but they definitely like the tasty food. And particularly the taste they can relate to. That's very, very important.
Thank you. Just to be clear, I mean, the millennials were what are usually defined as people born between the years of 1980 to 1997 is the particular demographic that we're speaking of, and is now, of course, in that phase of their life when they're actually making buying choices, and that, of course, extends to cuisine as well. So, Chef, if I could ask you, being at the Le Méridien Hotel, which has over the decades really served a lot of young people. I mean, this was one of the first places to have the big nightclub and was a real hot spot for young people in New Delhi. How do you see that changing in terms of, choices that obviously in a five-star hotel, young urban elite, young people are making?
Over the years, I found a sea change as far as likes and dislikes of millennials are concerned. Over the years, now of course, the lifestyle, the trends, the effect of media, whether it's electronic or written, the technology, the industrialization, and all put together has changed their mindset. Today, young crowd wants food which is sattvic, light on stomach, creative, no doubt, and which is nutritious as well. That's where I personally feel that there's a lot of creativity and innovation is playing a big role. They don't want the run-of-the-mill. I do come across a young crowd when they come to host their functions. They have already made their mind. They already have a mindset that, look, this is not the way they want. They want something different. What they have seen in New York, or on net, or in other parts of India or other countries. So I think talking about this, the food which they are looking forward is, if I talk about Indian food or any food, nutritionally prepared with a twist, using fresh ingredients, and in a very, the kind of informal kind of atmosphere. They don't want very fine dining. They want, I personally feel if I talk about the restaurants as well, I think the restaurant which are talk of the town is today, where casual dining is there. Food is good, they are recognized, the place is there they can do networking, they are seen. So I think these changes are there, and I as a chef, I think over the years we have totally opened our mind today. There's a lot of flexibility, we are open to ideas, we want to change, we want to innovate. So I personally feel change is the name of the game, innovation is the name of the game, creativity is the name of the game. I think that's what the future is.
Thank you, Chef. And it's a perfect idiom to use, but since I have 4 chefs on the panel, I'm going to say I'm going to stir the pot a little bit. But when you said Sattvic, I saw some of the chefs raise their eyebrows and possibly not agreeing with the fact that young millennials in India are really looking for Sattvic food. And maybe, you know, the restaurateurs can come in as well. But starting with Chef Manish Mehrotra, I mean, he, of course, has the very famous Indian accent, which gets a lot of millennials and a lot of young people. What do you have to say?
For me, like feeding a generation X, it's a tough challenge for all the chefs in India, because for them, pizza is more famous than paniyaram. For them, burger is more famous than bhat and dal. So it's a big challenge in our hand that how to turn our food in such a way that it becomes more famous than pizza and burger. Because for them, they started their career, they started their life with Maggi noodles, which was launched in 1984.
Now banned.
Yes, and the McDonald's and all these things. So that is why it's a big challenge in our hand. And young people, Generation X, which they have now achieved a lot of things in a very young age. They get very good salaries. They travel to London or New York as if they are traveling to Noida and Gurgaon. So for them, world has become a very small place, and they have seen many things in their life, in a short life. So they really want something which is simpler, and they can easily identify it, and there's no too much of mystery around it. And about fine dining and casual dining, it depends on everybody's pocket, and they are really into fine dining, they are into wines. There are young people who come to my restaurant, and a lot of people who come to my restaurant and their parents, they tell us, my kids, my son will never go for an Indian meal outside. This is a very general statement that they don't go out for an Indian meal. They go for Italian, Japanese, and all different kinds of meal, but not Indian meal. So that first, we have such a big challenge to turn that thing into, make them eat Indian food, rather than do something in our food. So that is the bigger challenge, I would say.
So I'm going to hop along the panel a little bit and come to you. You know, when he says that there is this trend with Moti Mahal, of course, a legendary Indian restaurant, I mean specifically in Delhi. Do you find that as well over the years? I mean, it's been generations, right, that the restaurants run in the family. And do you feel over the years that younger people are not coming out for Indian food?
Not exactly, you know. In fact, yesterday only my son is in modern school. We're all from modern school, so he tells me, Dad, and he's taking part in some play, and he's a very good actor. So he said, I have to treat my co-actors, and there are around 30 of them. And I said, okay, then what we'll do, we'll just order in pizza for you, and that pizza delivery would, deliver in school. That'll be easier. So he said, okay. Then he goes and tells his children, friends, that we are getting pizza. He says, no, we want butter chicken. And we want dal, and we want your food. So I said, how would you eat? He said, they'll eat however. And then when I found out I sent for 30 people, people smelled, and there were around 80 people who eat from that 30 people food I sent. So butter chicken is never going to die. And neither would the dal makhni, and neither would be the chicken tikka. So obviously I agree that there's a lot of evolution, and evolution is a constant truth. You have to evolve. What I see for this next generation, who's a text gen as well, as Chef said, that the food, what they are looking at as is tasty, consistent, and of good quality. Food is become a socializing, a great socializer on Facebooks and Twitters and Instagrams. They see and they want to eat, and they want to order out online, like Easy Diner we have, Food Cloud we have. There's something which my son was ordering pizza at night, dirty bake or baked day late or something, So what happens is that the food has to be consistent and of right quality and right price for this next generation to order. Of course, butter chickens will be there, but pizzas and, they're brought up with burgers, they would be there. So it's basically how to indigenize the food and have local ingredients, because you, after all, you have to have a economical thing on the text and the thing. So both are going to stay. Like what I feel that franchisation of food, like Indian Accent and others are doing, is very, very important, because they have a select audience for that who want to pay a big amount of money. They want to have 2,500 rupees per head. They are going to be there, and ready-to-eat food also will help, and our consistent local food will also survive in the next gen.
Which brings me to, I mean, you're a great segue, because you said socializer. You know, food is a great socializer, which brings me to you, Riyaaz, really, because, you know, we're talking about what they eat. I mean, you really, in a certain way, defined or tried to define how they eat, and with your innovative dining concepts, and most recently social in Delhi. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Back in 2000, I had an idea to create a cafe space. And generally a cafe, it was in my head going after a crowd which had disposable time as opposed to disposable income. Cafes really are places where people want to come and hang out, and generally they're looking for real estate for the price of a cup of coffee. So Starbucks in India operates very differently from a Starbucks, let's say, in the West, where people want to pick up a coffee and run around. But in India, they want the real estate. They want the comfy couch. They want that little cup. They want that little music playing. So it's more about disposable time. And I think I'm a Gen Xer, unfortunately, and no longer millennial. And at that point of time in India, we really were not comfortable that much with our Indianness. I mean, yes, Indian cuisine was popular, but outwardly we did not portray that, oh, you know, we're Indian. We only ate at, you know, Zodiac Grill, and we only... I mean, but it was this kind of a space in our heads where we had not really become very comfortable with a contemporary Indian voice. So the coolest thing that we could have was a McDonald's burger when I was a kid. And that was like the ultimate experience for me. Cut to 2014, and I said, look, I think mocha as a concept has become a little redundant. You know, shisha overcrowded everything. Let's kind of reinvent the cafe space, and let's reinvent them for the millennials. And then I started doing a lot of hanging around with 22-year-olds and 23-year-olds, and what I found was astonishing. Like, the millennials are a completely different animal from Gen Xers. Millennials, I think they have been born in a time where they no longer have a Western obsession. I think that there's a truly contemporary Indian voice emerging. You know, and I think Chef here is one of the lead examples. Gagan over there is again a very good example of a new Indian voice where we're not looking over our shoulders, we're comfortable with our Indianness, and when we think of our Indianness, we don't just necessarily think in terms of kish. And we are now really starting to explore local ingredients, and the millennials are so aware of what they put into their body. You know, they wanted, and it's not just buzzwords. They really care if it's sustainably harvested, if it's locally sourced, if it's ethically grown. These are no longer buzzwords, or it's not just they're doing it because they're cool. They genuinely care about the environment, and they genuinely give a shit. And I think that's reflecting in what they do. And I think that they're very, very experimental. They're very, very open to new things, and they're no longer ashamed of embracing their Indianness. I think that they're doing it with gusto, and I think words like ragi and nachni are just coming back into the food lexicon. And I think people are now understanding that they're very, very aware of what they're putting into their bodies. They want to know whether it's healthy. They want to know whether it's organic. And I think that the level of awareness the millennials have is astonishing.
Thank you. And coming to you, Chef Ravitej, I mean, are they fussier? Because from what I've heard across the panel is that they're more aware, they're better traveled, they eat out a lot more, they spend more money, or are willing to spend more money, they're far more comfortable with their Indianness. Do you feel that they're also fussier? Has it changed the sort of service profile in a say, a luxury hotel?
I believe every guest, you need to give them what they're looking for. You cater to a certain, there's no question about somebody being fussy or not. It's what they're looking for. They have specific needs. You need to understand those needs and deliver on those. And I sort of agree with what he said. Like, Indians now are very comfortable with their Indianness, much unlike 90s, where getting everything imported was the big thing. It's not anymore. Even Indian food, I mean, to take from Chef Gill, authentic Indian food is there, but I think what they're also looking for is alive authenticity. So it is Indian, it is traditional, but there's this youthfulness, that alive bit which you put in with a twist. And that's what the millennials, I believe, are looking for.
What do you mean by alive?
So,
give me an example.
Okay, an example, let's say it's very traditional is a pacha manga curry with rice. Now, half the people here wouldn't know what that is. So obviously I'm not going to spend $1,000 on it. I don't know what it is. It's essentially a green mango curry with rice, a traditional dish from Kerala. But you twist that around, you say snapper, pan-fried, crisp-fried red snapper and bale with green mango tomatoes with a tamarind coconut dressing. Now that sounds so nice. I'll probably spend $1,200 for that. Forget about $1,000. That's the youthfulness. That's the alive we need to kick in. That's what the point I was making.